I would have not believed you if you told me that at the start of the season.
Just need to make sure he's got his charger for his electric toothbrush.
Tough to watch for those guys, but as you say, the defence kept them in it.
Not looking good. They're going to have to trade for someone, man.
I think the three-peat is on for the Eagles, genuinely. Welcome back to the Early Hours podcast, where unfortunately only one of us can say they are 3-0. Smells, look, let's jump straight into it. A tighter game than you'd have wanted against the Cardinals, but a win is a win.
First of all, that can't be right, can it? Did Rasheed Walker not say that you were going to go unbeaten all season? You surely didn't lose to the Browns. Is that a typo on your script?
We can get onto that shortly, but firstly, let's talk about the 49ers going 3-0 in your division. That was look, we were all together for that game. You weren't too confident when it came down to that field goal.
No, it was a tough game. The Cardinals fought quite well. It's just, Big Mac played well when he needed to. The final drive was really good, but it's just the Ricky Pearsall show at the moment. We've got no one else really to catch the ball apart from potentially McCaffrey before he gets absolutely hammered whenever he catches the ball. So, yeah, it was a tough game. Both teams, I think, showing their injury troubles. Obviously, really bad news for the Cardinals. James Conner looks like he's out for a long time. So, yeah, feel for him there. He's had it tough the last couple of years. And obviously, Big Nick Bosa as well. He's been checked today for damage to his knee. Looks like it's not an ACL, but that could be bad news for us as well. So, yeah, both teams came out of that with some negatives, but both teams with some positives to take away too. Both played pretty hard and, played a pretty scrappy game. But, to be in it for both teams up to the last couple of seconds was fine, and it's an entertaining divisional match.
Cardinals actually looking relatively promising this season. I didn't think they were going to be anything special, but they put up a good fight. What's interesting here is obviously after what Kyler Murray came out and said last week about Marvin Harrison Jr. Sometimes he'll get the ball, sometimes he won't get the ball, which I just don't think you say that as the leader of that locker room. But he did drop a really important catch as well in that game, so that doesn't help his case to be a consistent target for Kyler Murray. But look, moving ahead, happy Monday, boys. Long time no see. Like I alluded to at the start of the podcast, you were all around. You were all in my living room last night watching the games, watching Red Zone. And look, if you're watching the vodcast on YouTube, hello. The bags under the eyes, they are definitely from staying up and watching the later games, and definitely not from crying after a bitter loss for the Packers against the Browns. Look, let's rip that bandage off straight away. Oliver, we were 10-0 up in the fourth quarter with 15 minutes to go, and we threw it all away.
Yeah, speak for yourself. I might have shed a tear or two for the result, but yeah, it's killer, isn't it? You fight. You go 2-0 at the start of the season against a divisional rival, then against a conference rival, both that you would probably expect to be tougher games than they were, and then we head to the blooming dog pound and
we get pounded.
Just a disaster. It's just a disaster. I mean, the Browns, they snapped an 8-game losing streak, beating us yesterday. It was a disaster in the red zone. It was a disaster on the O-line. The only thing I would say, and not to talk Packers ball for a minute, and talk about Cleveland and what they brought to the game, there was promising signs from Joe Flacco, but I think even with the win yesterday, it probably kind of begs the question, how long is Flacco going to get? It was a bit of a mixed bag under center, and with Dylan Gabriel waiting in the wings, I kind of think to myself, how long does Cleveland give him before they just move on and give the young rookie a chance? I think that defensively they're really strong. They're actually winning games with the front line. Myles Garrett was causing just so many problems for us. So yeah, I not to be down on Joe Flacco at the moment, but I think Dylan Gabriel might get in a little sooner than expected. And actually, optimistic day for the Browns yesterday. Fair play to them.
The Browns' offense was so stale. I don't think they had a first down in your half for the first three quarters. I mean. It was tough to watch for those guys. But as you say, the defense kept them in it, and I suppose that's all you need for a team who are going to struggle. That's what you need, a chance.
And we can't leave that game with just special teams from both sides, right? Missed opportunities on the Packers side. Obviously came down to that potential winning field goal with 24 seconds left on the clock. But then, Yeah, is it Schmidt? Andre Schmidt? I'm probably mispronouncing his name. Apologies if I am, but yeah, he was just unreal, right? He made the field goal. It's all that matters, and they won the game.
The silver lining to this is, if there is any, the parallels between the Packers' last Super Bowl campaign to this one, the 27 club obviously being a big one with Jordan Love now turning 27 this year, but the Packers, we had 14 penalties during that game, all right, and that is the most in a game for us since 2010 week 3, and obviously it was week 3 this week as well, and 2010 obviously being the Super Bowl year for us. So another parallel. If that's the only silver lining to take, then look, we'll take it, but we can't be losing to the Browns, boys. Come on.
I just want to reassure all the fans that these losers were as sad and upset and angry as you'd have all hoped. So yeah, we've been waiting for this for a couple of weeks now, and the payoff was unreal.
We can only look ahead to week 4, and look, there'll be a time where you are knocked off your unbeaten streak, Smails.
Oh, there will be.
And we'll have
Absolutely.
our last laugh. Looking ahead
Could be
to
the Jags next week.
Looking ahead to the other games then on the Sunday slate, the Eagles, another victory there over the Rams, 33-26. Are the Eagles looking like back-to-back Super Bowl contenders?
I think so. I think so. How can you suggest otherwise? They are such a resilient team. Say what you want about Nick Sirianni, about the tush push, about is Hurts any good? At the end of the day, this is a team that came back from a 19-point deficit. The Rams were showing up, balling out. Tay Adams was catching balls left, right, and centre, and Matt Stafford was slinging them. It was, I mean, you just can't knock it. And again, another special team. What a day for kickers and special teams again. Who thought we'd be speaking about it so much?
So many block kicks, crazy.
Crazy, yeah. Blocking Jordan Davis was blocked a 44-yard field goal. And then not only that, he didn't just block it, he took it 61 yards into the end zone. So yeah, I just think you cannot walk away from yesterday's game and not say that the Eagles are the favourites to go at least back to the Super Bowl. And also just fair play to them. What a resilient win. Unbelievable team. Really cool team. Good team to watch.
Yeah, I think we gave Jalen Hurts some stick last week, but when he needed to produce, he actually found AJ Brown a couple of times, and they managed to kind of pump that ball up the field when they needed to. So yeah, go credit where credit's due for him and the team.
Absolutely, and on the other side of that, sorry, I just wanted to. We can't leave that game without touching on the Rams. Yeah, they were unfortunately they walked away with an L, but dominated the game early behind Matthew Stafford. They had 297 yards. And yeah, he just sadly collapsed late, but he looked unstoppable, and they were a really good side. Tay Adams was firing, Nakua was back at it, Kyron Williams had a day on the ground, so promising for the Rams, and it's just a shame that the Niners picked up a win. I'm sure they're gutted because they were looking like they were taking a commanding lead in the West.
Well, that brings Jalen Hurts to 17-0 in his last 17 games played, including the playoffs, which is an unbelievable stat. Look, you heard it here first. I think the three-peat is on for the Eagles. Genuinely, yeah. I think they get it done this season. They get, like you say, definitely at least back to the Super Bowl, and then they'll do what Mahomes struggled and failed to do at the hands of themselves. In
all seriousness,
in New Orleans.
How long before we stop having this discussion about whether Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback, and we just start having a conversation about the fact that he is a great quarterback, and it's a case of how many is he going to win rather than, you know what I mean? It's just
ridiculous. Do you think though this conversation is always shadowed by the tush push? I do. Until the NFL can look at it and maybe work or ban it, we can't have that discussion because it looks like the Eagles are relying on that to some degree.
Yeah, and he's reliant on the team around him. He has the players around him is 10 times better than the players the likes of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, etc. have got.
Even Mahomes this year.
Well, yeah. The whole, all of the above. That team is just star-studded, which is fair play. Great to see they've done well.
A team that isn't star-studded, lacking Joe Burrow, is the Bengals. The Vikings putting 48 past them. The Bengals only scoring 10. Surely the Bengals have now got to be looking for a replacement in Cincinnati.
Well, first of all, it seems to be everyone else in the NFC North firing yesterday, apart from us. But yeah, sorry, just to go back to Cleveland, to Cincy. God, it's just imprinted on my mind. The dog pound was really doing it to us. So no, they stuck by him. They stuck by Jake Browning all week. They spoke really highly of him. They were confident. They didn't need to trade. They were very outspoken about that. But since Burrow's been out, he's played, let's call it a game and a half. Granted, he's thrown for 300 plus yards, but he's had 5 interceptions and his QBR's is just over 50, so let's call it 50 QBR. It's not looking good. They're going to have to trade for someone, man. And they're going to have to go into the market fast. We know how quickly the NFL moves. I'm sure there's already other teams out there that are looking for potential recruitment, so they're going to have to move quick. But any suitors?
Yeah,
Any
I think
suitors?
we touched upon it last time, didn't we? I think the favourite has to be Jameis Winston. I think that was
Yeah.
all of our consensus of the favourite. Malik Willis as well. But there's not a great deal of like options. I think that the Giants over like having like an amazing and deep QB room is probably ripe for the taking. But now, from Russell Wilson's performance in the late slot last night, maybe they want to dive into their own pool there.
Very true, very true. And you'd arguably say Kirk Cousins is another option as well. However, even though he was brought in late in the fourth quarter in yesterday's game, they've come out already and said, no, Kirk is going to remain a backup, and he's very much part of our franchise and our plans. So can't see a trade there. It kind of all the stars seem to be aligning for Jameis Winston.
I think Jameis Winston makes sense. I think he's a good quarterback and gives them a chance to win. They had a terrible game yesterday, and we know that Browning isn't the one, but they're still 2-1. They're still well in the race. If they get it sorted now, they've still got a good chance to make the playoffs. So they need to do it. They need to do it before they start to go 2-3, 2-4, 2-5, because that's where they're going at the minute with Browning at quarterback.
Definitely, and can't leave that game without talking about the Vikings. As bad as it was for Cincy, what a day out they had. Blooming heck. They really enjoy being on tour. So yeah, Jordan Mason just bulldozing through that line for 116 yards, 2 scores. Carson Wentz had a day, But even look at the defensive side of the ball. Isaiah Rodgers, unbelievable at corner yesterday. 2 defensive touchdowns. So he was just flying. They were just picking him off left, right, and centre, weren't they? So if you're a Minnesota fan this morning, or anyone else in the NFC bloody North, you're in a good mood, no doubt.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because JJ McCarthy's now going to look over his shoulder as well after week 2 performance than Carson Wentz yesterday.
Yeah,
very
great
true.
shout. Well, the Vikings scoring 48 points, the highest of any team in week 3. That is great momentum for them going into now what is a back-to-back international series. Ireland this week at Sunday at Crook Park. I'll be there bringing you some on-the-ground stuff as well. Really lucky to be able to go to that game, so check out our socials for more. But going into the rest of the Sunday slate, just our highlighted games to have a look. Some more crazy score lines. The Seahawks putting 44 points past the Saints. The Colts also scoring 40 points, 41 to be exact, against the Titans. The Dan Jones saga just continuing to thrive over at Indianapolis.
3-0.
Crazy. I'd have not believed you if you told me that at the start of the season. Another team scoring 41 points. Marcus Mariota leading the charge with the Commanders against the Raiders side, only scoring 24. The Bears beating the Cowboys, another NFC North team there, winning, that are not called the Packers. And the Buccaneers Jets, a really close game actually, 29-27. The Bucs actually the first team since 1970 to have game-winning scores in the final minute of the first 3 games. So do I sense a fraud there? Maybe, I don't know. And then rounding out our picks, the Panthers coming out of nowhere, whitewashing the Falcons, 30-0 in that game.
Unbelievable. Genuinely, what a shock in the South that was. I mean, granted, the Saints had their own troubles to deal with, but Buccaneers just edging it over the Jets, as you mentioned there. Really, really tough pill to swallow for the Jets, but yeah, can't get away from that. The Panthers just doing one over on the Falcons. Bijan Robinson trying his best to get things going, but I think it all started with Penix, didn't it? Not a good day. Not a good day.
No, I'd be looking at Kirky by now, because I don't think Penix is great, and as I say, I think he's too young, too soon to get rid of him just yet. But it could be another Russ Wilson in a couple of weeks. We could see good old Coco back in the saddle.
The salad. He's in the mix.
Brilliant,
love it.
Yeah. It was a very interesting game. That couldn't believe it.
Well, we've got one more big game for our week 3 to round it off. Monday Night Football here. It's the Lions at the Ravens. Boys, who have you got?
Simple answer, Ravens for me. I think the Lions last week were fantastic. Jared Goff, 5 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown with 3 of them is unbelievable. I think it could be quite a high-scoring game, actually. It could be another week 1, similar to Ravens-Bills, but I've still got the Ravens. I just think the Lions' defense will probably not hold up to Lamar, Henry, etc.
Yeah, the stats would suggest that the Ravens are going to probably take the dub. Lamar Jackson in prime time is apparently the GOAT. 20-6, unbeaten in 6 Monday night starts versus NFC opponents. What a stat. And yeah, I just think that the Lions are going to have to try and disrupt that sort of Baltimore blueprint, which is just Lamar and Henry causing problems, right? But they have got a little bit of a weak front line at the minute, so I think that interior line, there's a couple of absences from key injuries, so I think there is ways that the Lions can exploit that game. It's all going to come down to just stopping Henry. He had a poor week too, as we know, but he'll be looking to bounce back. It's Derrick Henry, isn't it? And if it's not Derrick Henry, then Lamar Jackson will be holding the ball out for the read, and he'll be taking it very nicely on the option. And yeah, it's the Lamar and Henry show. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Lions as a...
No way. Really?
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm going to go with the Lions as a bit of a conflicting one. I think just with the form of the NFC North teams this week, I think Jared Goff might have a really good game. Amon-Ra's coming off the back of a really solid outing, 3 touchdowns in his previous game. I think we could be that caught up looking at Henry that we forget we're dealing with Sonic and Knuckles on the other side. So keep your eyes peeled. Gibbs is bound to explode soon. And get a good start to the season.
Well, the Packers could really do with the Ravens winning, else it will be, every other team in the NFC North getting a dub this week other than them. So I'll be backing the Ravens for sure. Guys, I just want to round out the episode by touching on some big fantasy trades this week. Look, I wouldn't normally bring in trades into this sort of episode, but it's very rare that we've got 2 blockbuster trades happening between all 3 of us, and it'd be great to get people's opinions in the comments, because it's not gone down very well in our league. I've been having messages all morning saying how much I've made mistakes, but look, I'm in the business of selling high and buying low. That's what I like doing. So Oliver, we'll come to you first. I've given up Jonathan Taylor on a record high week for him, 30 plus points, and I wanted Bucky Irving, which was actually my 2nd round pick in the draft, and Lad McConkey. So Bucky's come back home, and I've given up Jonathan Taylor. What do you reckon about that one? Why did you accept it?
Yeah, I just want to start by saying that I think the rest of the league, I saw a message in the chat saying corruption, which was ironic. So yeah, that's apparently what you get when you're the commissioner dealing trades. Yeah, RB6 coming into leader of the pack, outgoing, like you said, Bucky Irving and Lad McConkey. I think Bucky's had a strong start to the season. You're obviously getting a sort of straight swap there, and then there's that little addition from my part for Lad McConkey. But for me, I mean, we're all going to think we've won the trade.
You think you've won the trade?
I think I've won the trade. I think I'm getting quite a proven running back. It looks like even if Dan Jones doesn't have a great game for the foreseeable, then I think Jonathan Taylor's still set to get receiving yards and rushing yards. And Lad McConkey just looks to be at the bottom of the pile in the Quentin Johnson, Keenan Allen conversation at the minute in LA. So yeah. Why not?
I think you're right there, but I just don't think he's capable of going for 30 plus point weeks every week. I don't think that's sustainable. But look, time will tell. Smells, we're coming then over to you. This is actually, there's some big names here, but also some names that have not been proven this season especially. I've given up Christian McCaffrey, which is a big name. Great projections. That is the 49ers target man with everything else that's going on in that team. I've also given up Justin Jefferson. My reasoning for Justin Jefferson is the fact that he's not done anything all season practically, and now he's coming up to 2 back-to-back international games, which is going to cause fatigue and a change in routine. He's also not got a quarterback that he can rely on. Who knows what's going on at Minnesota? And then he's got a bye week, so not looking good for Justin Jefferson, but I've given up those 2 people. Smells, you've let go Derrick Henry, who plays tonight, so looking at his form definitely, and Ashton Johnson.
I'm really worried about the whole Derrick Henry thing. That's my worry. But
I just think we should touch quickly on. Do we want to ask Jefferson what his morning routine is? Is there any other?
He's not going to be able to get the exact coffee that he wants at his house. He's going to be on the red eye over to Ireland shortly.
Yeah, make sure he's got his moisturiser packed in his travel bag. God forbid. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just. Yeah.
It's Justin Jefferson, man. He's gonna deliver at some point. And I don't have any good wide receivers, so that's 14.8,
11.1, and 12.5 in the first 3 games. 2 of those games against the Bears and the Falcons, who can't even get a point past the Panthers.
I'm not being funny. That is an unbelievable flaw in 2 games. If you look at his floor and his ceiling, he's operating at a minimum 11 points, and he's got JJ McCarthy, who's had 2 of the worst starts to a Vikings career you could ever have, and Carson Wentz. I mean, surely it can only get better. So I think
maybe it gets better in 4 to 6 weeks, but the immediate future with JJ, I'm not backing it.
Just need to make sure he's got his charger for his electric toothbrush. Otherwise,
his travel pillow.
Yeah. Well, he's got to be looking clean and fresh, when he travels. But yeah, no, Smells. You said that you're worried about Henry.
Yeah. Henry, I was really excited to pick up Derrick Henry in the second round. He obviously went off in the first game. Second game, not so good. Obviously, we'll see how he goes tonight. For me, he's a straight swap with McCaffrey. If McCaffrey stays fit, I think he will outscore him. Ashton Genty, again, like, so much promise, so far hasn't done it. And with Javonte Williams at the moment, Genty's sat on my bench for the foreseeable. So, it's kind of a straight swap for Justin Jefferson, and I am desperate for wide receivers. I've had Terry McLaurin and DK Metcalf playing wide receiver this week, so everyone knew what position I was after.
I do definitely think in the sides they're in at the minute, the ceiling is higher on Derrick Henry. However, I do think from a consistency perspective, you're actually getting a better player in CMC. I'm just looking from week 1, 169 rushing yards for Henry, but then he dropped 23 in week 2. So you just can't.
He's dropping balls as well. Yeah. So how often are they going to trust him?
That's my concern with McCaffrey, though. If we're going to continuously give him that much workload every week, I don't see him surviving to the end of the season. Genuinely.
I agree. That's a worry, but that's kind of the thing though, where you take that risk on a player that you're so invested in, like your club player, like you might do Jacobs. It's just that little edge more, isn't it, of a player that I really invest my heart and passion into, Christian.
All I've taken from this is that we're all going to head out to the waivers and acquire Brian Robinson Jr., right? Because when McCaffrey goes down, I'm waiting in the wings.
Well, I would love to be involved in the waivers, but fortunately my priority is dead last after having to scramble and get a quarterback after all of mine were out for various reasons, as we touched upon the other episode. But the last thing I'll say about those trades is, look, regardless of who won and who lost, look, I have fortunately got the flexibility to do that because I'm the only one in this podcast who's actually got a ring. So look, I'm
the only one that's going 3-0, by the way.
Nice.
Well, that's another thing. Like my team, I was 0-2. Like these boys have not been performing for me. They've not been winning me any games.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Chris. You got beat, lad.
Poor the noisy neighbours.
Well, I'm in the midst of knocking 2-0 Andrew off as well, which is great.
Yeah. It's all to play for. We'll keep you up to date.
Yeah, well, it'll be two big losses for Andrew this week when the Saints got crushed by the Seahawks as well. But look, that's all we've got time for this week on the Early Hours podcast. Look, like I say, tune in for Thursday's episode and watch out on the socials for some on-the-ground content when I fly over to Ireland. So we'll see you then.